Nestled in the heart of a sprawling, untouched wilderness, the man's home stood like a sanctuary amidst the towering pines and jagged mountains. The air was crisp and fragrant with the rich scent of evergreen, a constant reminder of the vibrant life teeming around him. Streams bubbled nearby, their clear waters glistening under the soft glow of the sun, while birds flitted between branches, their cheerful songs harmonizing with the rustle of leaves. This secluded paradise, however, was not without its shadows. The tranquility often masked an undercurrent of tension, a reminder of the delicate balance within nature. Here, every creature, big or small, played a crucial role in the ecosystem, and survival often demanded sacrifices. As seasons changed, the man witnessed both beauty and brutality, young animals struggling to find their place in a world dictated by instinct. With each passing day, he developed a profound appreciation for the wilderness and its inhabitants. He spent hours observing their behaviors, gaining insights into their struggles and victories. It was during one such quiet afternoon, when the sun hung low in the sky, that he would encounter a moment that would forever alter his understanding of empathy and connection in this wild expanse. Little did he know that a heart-wrenching scene was about to unfold right before his eyes, one that would push the boundaries of his compassion to their limits. The man, named Ethan, had lived in this wilderness for most of his life. With rugged features and sun-kissed skin, he embodied the spirit of the land he cherished. Having grown up exploring the woods alongside his father, a conservationist, Ethan had inherited a deep respect for nature and its creatures. His days were often filled with solitary hikes, fishing by the streams, and quietly observing animal behaviors. He understood the rhythms of the wild better than most, forging an unspoken bond with the wildlife that surrounded him. In the nearby town, Ethan was known as a caretaker of sorts. His reputation as an animal lover earned him both admiration and a touch of incredulity. Some townsfolk viewed him as an eccentric recluse, while others admired his dedication to protecting local wildlife. He frequently helped lost or injured animals, nursing them back to health whenever possible. His home was adorned with photographs depicting various wildlife encounters, a testament to his adventures and commitment to their well-being. Ethan's connection to nature extended beyond mere observation. He felt a responsibility to act as a guardian for the lost and vulnerable creatures that inhabited his beloved landscape. Little did he expect that this deep-seated bond would soon face its greatest test, revealing both his strength and humanity in ways he could never have imagined. It was a gentle afternoon, and Ethan was tending to his garden when he first heard the distressed sounds echoing through the trees. The cries were low and mournful, twisting through the tranquil air like an unsettling melody. His instincts immediately kicked in, and he dropped his tools, moving cautiously toward the source of the sound. As he ventured deeper into the woods, pushing past thick underbrush, Ethan's heart raced. Suddenly, there she was, a mother bear emerging from the shadows. Her dark fur glistened against dappled sunlight, but it was her eyes that caught his attention, wide with fear and laden with desperation. The usually imposing figure of a bear now seemed vulnerable as she stumbled forward, her ears pinned back in distress. Ethan instinctively paused, recognizing the urgency in her demeanor. She wasn't just wandering, she was searching for help. In tow was a small cub, its frail body dragging behind her, unable to keep pace. The sight sent a chill down Ethan's spine as he realized something was terribly wrong. The mother bear let out another heart-wrenching cry, glancing between the path ahead and Ethan, as if pleading for assistance. Recognizing her suffering sparked an immediate resolve within him. This unexpected encounter would shape the course of not only their lives but also reveal depths of compassion he had yet to explore. As the mother bear moved closer, Ethan's heart sank at the sight of her cub. It lay limply in her grasp, its small body trembling against the powerful frame of its mother. The cub's fur was matted and dull, contrasting sharply with its mother's glossy coat. A thin whimper escaped its lips, a sound that cut through the ambient noises of the forest, compelling Ethan to take a step forward despite the danger. The bear nudged her cub gently toward Ethan, her eyes filled with a mix of urgency and fear. It was an instinctual plea for help, one that demanded his attention. The cub's breathing was shallow, each gasp seemed labored, indicating an injury that had rendered it weak. Ethan felt a wave of compassion wash over him as he knelt down, his instincts as a caretaker kicking into high gear. Tears pricked at the corners of his eyes as he looked from the frail cub to its desperate mother. The moment encapsulated everything he had ever loved about nature, the deep connections and emotional bonds shared among all living beings. In that poignant instant, he knew he couldn't turn away. The sight before him transcended fear and danger, it beckoned him to act, to bridge the gap between human and animal in a way he had never imagined necessary until now. As Ethan knelt before the distressed mother bear and her frail cub, a surge of conflicting emotions washed over him. Fear gripped his heart at the thought of the bear's potential aggression. She was a wild animal, after all, and he was an intruder in her moment of desperation. The powerful muscles of her frame tensed as she stood protectively over her cub, her eyes flickering with both fear and defiance. Ethan knew that a sudden movement could provoke her instinct to defend. Yet, intertwined with that fear was an overwhelming sense of empathy. The sight of the vulnerable cub, so small against the backdrop of the towering trees, pulled at his heartstrings. He understood that this mother bear was not just an animal, she was a parent, scared and seeking help in an impossible situation. In that moment, her suffering resonated deeply within him, igniting a fierce determination to bridge the gap between their worlds. Ethan took a cautious breath, grounding himself in the understanding that if he approached with gentleness and respect, he might earn the trust of both creatures. Slowly, he began to formulate a plan in his mind. Gathering his courage, he reached for the medical supplies he always carried while exploring, knowing that he had to act, not just for the sake of the cub but also for the mother who sought his compassion amidst her turmoil. Ethan took a moment to weigh his options, analyzing the delicate situation before him. The mother bear's posture remained tense, her keen instincts on high alert as she hovered protectively over her cub. He understood that any abrupt action could trigger her instinct to defend, potentially leading to aggression. Ethan needed to be strategic, his goal was to help, not to escalate a dangerous confrontation. He glanced back at the small clearing that constituted his makeshift garden, then focused on the bear and her cub once more. Keeping his movements slow and deliberate, he considered the supplies he had brought with him, bandages, antiseptic ointment, and some glucose tablets he often carried for emergencies. But how could he apply this assistance without startling the bear? Ethan drew a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. In his mind, he began visualizing the proper approach. First, he would speak softly to reassure the mother bear that he posed no threat. Perhaps lowering himself closer to the ground would help convey his non-threatening intentions. After ensuring he maintained eye contact with the bear while avoiding any sudden movements, Ethan slowly reached into his bag to retrieve the necessary items. His heart pounded in his chest, but a sense of resolve enveloped him. He was committed to finding a way to aid her cub, establishing a fragile trust between them amidst uncertainty. Ethan took a deep breath, centering himself as he began to softly speak to the mother bear. "It's okay," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper but flowing with warmth and sincerity. He kept eye contact with her, aware that breaking it could spark her anxiety. His heart raced, but he pushed aside his fear, focusing instead on conveying calmness. Slowly, he lowered himself closer to the ground, minimizing his height seemed important in making him appear less threatening. Maintaining a non-threatening posture, Ethan began to extend his arms slightly while keeping the medical supplies hidden behind his back. "I want to help your baby," he continued, choosing words that resonated with gentleness. It was as if he could sense her uncertainty shifting, ever so slightly softening as she registered his intent. The mother bear's eyes remained wary but also curious. She cocked her head to the side as Ethan spoke, her ears twitching while she processed his tone. Recognizing an opening, Ethan shuffled his body back a few inches, an offering of distance that signified respect for her space. With time passing slowly between them, he felt a delicate thread of connection begin to weave amidst the chaos, their worlds slowly converging through understanding. Finally, After what felt like an eternity but was only moments in reality, the mother bear took a tentative step closer. Encouraged by this small movement, Ethan gathered the courage to reveal the medical supplies he had discreetly held back, a symbolic gesture that might just ignite hope for both animals. As the mother bear took that crucial step closer, Ethan felt a wave of determination wash over him. This was the pivotal moment where he had to decide whether to act on his instincts and help the injured cub despite the risks involved. The bear's eyes, filled with a mix of desperation and hope, urged him forward. In that silent exchange, he understood that she was placing her trust in him, and he could not let her down. Ethan's mind raced through the potential dangers. Wild animals are unpredictable, and a mother bear can be especially protective of her young. Yet, he couldn't shake the overwhelming sense of responsibility he felt toward the tiny creature fighting for its life. The thought of leaving them to fend for themselves felt unbearable. Taking a deep breath, Ethan resolved to overcome his fear. He needed to act quickly but thoughtfully. He gently set aside his medical supplies and reached for the glucose tablets first, knowing they could provide much-needed energy for the weakened cub. Staying low to the ground, he turned toward the bear, speaking softly as he explained what he planned to do. "Just a little help," he whispered, extending his hand slowly and offering the tablet while keeping his gaze steady on the mother bear. The moment encapsulated human compassion in its purest form, an unspoken commitment to protect another life, demonstrating that amidst fear, empathy could lead one to take brave actions in service of those who cannot help themselves. With a renewed sense of purpose, Ethan quickly made his way back to his home, moving with determination and focus. As he entered the small wooden cabin that had served as his refuge for years, he felt a surge of urgency propelling him forward. He had always kept a well-stocked first aid kit for emergencies, knowing that the wilderness could be unpredictable. Ethan rummaged through the shelves, his hands deftly searching for the supplies he needed. He found antiseptic ointment, gauze bandages, and a pair of tweezers, items that could prove vital in treating the cub's injuries. As he prepared to gather more resources, he also recalled the glucose tablets he often kept on hand for wildlife encounters, believing they could provide an immediate boost of energy to the weak cub. His heart raced as he filled a small backpack with the selected items, ensuring not to overload himself. Each object represented hope, a lifeline for the injured creature outside. Just before stepping out, he hesitated for a moment to collect a bright orange vest from a hook by the door. It would help him stand out against the forest backdrop, potentially easing any anxiety from the mother bear. Once equipped, Ethan took one last deep breath and stepped outside once more, ready to return to the scene where compassion and courage would collide in an extraordinary act of kindness. Ethan returned to the clearing, his heart pounding as he knelt beside the frail cub. He took a moment to observe its condition, noting the shallow rise and fall of its chest and the way its eyes fluttered open and shut in a mix of fear and weakness. The mother bear remained close, her body tense and watchful as she inspected Ethan's movements with a wary gaze. With careful precision, Ethan reached into his backpack and retrieved the antiseptic ointment. He spoke softly to the cub while keeping his demeanor calm, saying, "Just a little help, buddy." He knew that the cub needed to feel reassured amidst its fear. As he gently applied the ointment, he felt the weight of the moment. It was not just about treating an injury but also about building trust with both the cub and its mother. Ethan moved slowly as he examined the injuries, avoiding any sudden gestures that might alarm the bear. He noticed a cut along the cub's flank, possibly from a sharp branch or another animal's encounter. His fingers trembled slightly, but he maintained focus on the task at hand. With meticulous care, he cleaned the wound with gauze, whispering soothing words to reassure both mother and cub. The bear's watchful presence loomed large, yet her expression began to shift from apprehension to cautious acceptance as Ethan worked. In this fragile space where human compassion met wild instinct, a bond began to form, an understanding that they were in this together, navigating uncertainty with the hope of healing. As Ethan continued to tend to the cub's injuries, he felt an undeniable shift in the atmosphere around him. The mother bear, once tense and uncertain, seemed to soften as she observed his gentle actions. Her watchful gaze remained fixed on him, but the fierce edge of her protective instincts began to wane, replaced by a glimmer of hope. In that pivotal moment, Ethan paused and looked up at the mother bear. Their eyes locked, his filled with compassion and hers with a mixture of trust and lingering caution. He sensed her deep love for her cub, a bond that mirrored his own feelings toward the wildlife he had cared for throughout his life. With a soothing voice, he spoke, "You're doing great, Mama. I'm here to help." The warmth in his words seemed to resonate between them, creating an invisible thread of connection. Ethan noticed how the bear's stance relaxed slightly. She took a small step forward, drawn not only by her instinct to protect but also by an emerging understanding that he meant no harm. In response to this silent exchange, Ethan continued his work with renewed vigor, carefully applying gauze to the cub's wounds while casting glances at the mother bear as if inviting her into this intimate act of healing. It was a shared moment, a fragile bridge between two worlds, where human compassion met wild instinct, illuminating the profound depth of their connection amidst vulnerability and uncertainty. As Ethan continued to administer care to the cub, the emotional weight of the situation bore down on him. Every gentle touch and whispered word felt charged with urgency, his heart racing as he tried to balance compassion with the very real fear of the mother bear's instinctual protectiveness. He could feel the tension in his body, the anxiety of potentially startling the bear, coupled with a fierce determination to help the vulnerable creature before him. Each moment seemed to stretch into eternity, thick with unspoken fears and hopes. For the mother bear, the emotional toll was equally profound. Her heart raced as she watched Ethan's every move, torn between instinct and the desperate need for her cub's survival. The raw love she felt for her child surged through her, mingling with a protective ferocity that made her keenly aware of any perceived threat. Her eyes darted between Ethan and her cub, weighing his intentions while struggling against her own instincts to retreat. Yet, as she observed the care he bestowed upon her child, a flicker of hope ignited within her. In this shared moment of vulnerability, both human and animal experienced a profound emotional resonance, a deep understanding of each other's fears and desires. It was a crucible of connection, showcasing how love and compassion could transcend boundaries and forge bonds in even the most precarious of circumstances. As Ethan continued his treatment, he began to notice subtle signs of improvement in the cub's condition. After administering the glucose tablets and applying the antiseptic ointment, the cub's breathing gradually became more rhythmic and less labored. Its eyes, once glazed with fear and fatigue, now sparkled with a flicker of life, showing curiosity as it shifted slightly against its mother's warm fur. Ethan's heart swelled with hope as he observed these changes. The cub blinked slowly, taking in its surroundings with a growing awareness. He could see the muscles in its little body start to relax, shedding some of the tension that had gripped it just moments before. Each small movement was a testament to the healing process beginning to take place. It was as if the cub was responding not only to the care it received but also to the gentle energy radiating from both Ethan and its mother. The mother bear, too, seemed to sense this shift. Although still vigilant, she watched Ethan with a softening gaze, her body language reflecting a mix of caution and newfound optimism. This fragile moment ignited a bond of shared hope between them. Ethan felt encouraged by the cub's progress, and the mother bear appeared to understand that her child was in good hands. With each sign of recovery, Ethan felt a renewed sense of purpose. The emotional weight that had initially engulfed him began to lift, replaced by a humble gratitude for being a part of this extraordinary journey toward healing and connection. In the wake of the cub's recovery, a profound bond formed between Ethan and the mother bear, illustrating an extraordinary relationship forged in a moment of crisis. As the protective mother continued to observe him with a mix of wariness and gratitude, Ethan felt an overwhelming respect for the wild creatures that shared his world. This connection transcended the typical boundaries between human and animal, creating a shared understanding that was both humbling and enriching. Ethan reflected on how this experience had altered his view of nature. It was no longer just a backdrop to his life, it was filled with emotions, relationships, and stories waiting to unfold. The bear's fierce love for her cub resonated with his own instincts to protect those in need, deepening his appreciation for the struggles that wildlife endure daily. In caring for the bear's young one, he recognized that he had also been cared for, his soul replenished by this exchange. With each encounter in the wilderness, Ethan grew more aware of the delicate balance that existed between humans and wildlife. This experience reinforced his commitment to fostering coexistence and understanding within the ecosystem he cherished. The bond he formed with the mother bear and her cub served as a powerful reminder that respect for nature can lead to extraordinary connections, elevating both human compassion and wild instinct to new heights. As the days passed, Ethan reflected on the life-changing encounter with the mother bear and her cub. The experience had not only deepened his appreciation for wildlife but also reshaped his outlook on life. He realized that nature was not merely a backdrop to his existence, it was an intricate web of connections and emotions that demanded respect and understanding. This newfound perspective inspired him to engage more actively in conservation efforts, advocating for the protection of local wildlife habitats. Ethan began spending more time in the forest, seeking out opportunities to observe and learn from the animals he once viewed from a distance. He became acutely aware of the delicate balance that existed between humans and wildlife, recognizing that their fates were intertwined. Each creature had its role in the ecosystem, and he felt a profound responsibility to ensure their protection. Moreover, his relationship with the mother bear served as a constant reminder of the power of empathy and trust. He often thought back to the moment he knelt beside her cub, feeling that connection transcending species. This bond encouraged him to share his story with others, hoping to inspire a greater respect for nature in his community. Ultimately, Ethan emerged from this extraordinary experience transformed, his heart and mind open to the endless possibilities that arise when compassion meets understanding. He was now not just a caretaker but a passionate advocate for coexistence, committed to ensuring that future generations could experience the beauty of the wilderness he had come to cherish so deeply. As Ethan embraced his role as an advocate for wildlife, the impact of his encounter with the mother bear and her cub rippled throughout his community. He began sharing his story at local gatherings and schools, illustrating the power of empathy and compassion in protecting the natural world. Through his passionate accounts, he inspired others to reflect on their own relationships with nature, urging them to recognize the importance of coexistence. His efforts sparked a newfound awareness about animal welfare, leading to community initiatives aimed at preserving local habitats and educating residents about the wildlife that inhabited them. Workshops on safe interactions with animals and conservation practices became regular events, bringing together people of all ages to learn and engage actively in protecting their environment. Ethan's journey transformed him from a solitary caretaker into a community pillar, fostering connections among neighbors who had previously viewed wildlife as distant and separate from their lives. This shift in perspective encouraged residents to adopt more respectful attitudes toward local wildlife, promoting conservation efforts and reducing conflicts between humans and animals. The legacy of Ethan's experience extended beyond immediate changes, it planted seeds of respect for nature that would flourish in future generations. His dedication inspired a collective consciousness within the community, one that celebrated not only the beauty of the wilderness but also its intricate web of life, ensuring that both people and animals could coexist harmoniously for years to come.